Happy New Year! Welcome to FRCmedia News for Thursday, January 6th, 2022. I'm Keith Tebow. We get an update on COVID-19 in Fall River, particularly how it's been impacting schools as students and teachers returned this week. We also look ahead to 2022 as Fall River city officials get inaugurated. We also speak with Congressman Auchincloss and State Senator Michael Rodrigues. All this and more coming up. But we start where we left off 2021, the latest on COVID-19 here in Fall River. Here are the latest numbers as of last Thursday, December 30th. There were 761 new cases of the virus in Fall River last week. That's the third straight week of over 700 new cases. There are now over 21,000 cases confirmed since the onset of the pandemic in 2020. Vaccinations remain flat, with 65% of city residents having received at least one dose of the vaccine and 58% fully vaccinated. During our weekly conversation with Mayor Paul Coogan, he tells us that there have been days this week where the city has seen over 200 new cases. Those numbers were commonplace a year ago. Government Center remains open, and the mayor says a mask mandate is now back in place. He's cautioning residents who need to pay bills at Government Center that they should try to do so remotely or at local branches of Bay Coast Bank. He also says the city is working with health officials to increase COVID testing across the city.
Well, we're trying to get our fire department. Right now, we're only testing city employees up there. We're trying to get that open to the public. We had a meeting yesterday on that. We're also talking to one of our local companies today about some more of those rapid tests that we can get out to the public. So we're looking at it, but it's like you said, Keith, we go from testing to vaccinations to testing to vaccinations, and it's like the disease, it's cycling through, and we just, you're trying to stay with it, but it sometimes feels like you're always trying to play catch up. So again, we had a meeting yesterday to try to open up another testing site for the residents of Fall River, and we're going to keep going.
The surge in COVID cases is also impacting students and teachers at the Fall River Public Schools. Interim Superintendent Maria Ponce tells us thus far, students are still attending classes in person and will continue to do so.
We are all hands on deck. Everybody is covering. We have administrators, teachers, support staff, central staff. Everybody is on alert and ready to cover where needed. I think that the metric we would use would be safety. If we are not able to open up a school safely because we don't have enough staff, then we would make that decision. I wouldn't say necessarily it would be a decision to go remote, because if staff is calling out because they are sick, then we're not going to say you're going to teach remotely. So we would have to make that determination if and when the time comes. As you know, right now, going remote is not an option. DESE has not advocated for remote learning. We are doing everything we can to keep our kids in school. We certainly know that it was very difficult last year. And we know that the best way to keep kids in school is to have them in front of staff. But we also know that we have to do that safely for all.
Getting the vaccine is still the best way to guard against severe illness from COVID-19. You can find out where to get the vaccine in Fall River by visiting the city's webpage at frvax.com or by calling 833-VAX-NOW or 833-882-9669. You can also visit the state's webpage at vaxfinder.mass.gov, and you can also dial 211. The pandemic definitely left its impact on this week's inauguration of Fall River's city government, as attendance was down and masks were on during the ceremony at BMC Durfee High School. Mayor Paul Coogan was sworn in for his second term of office. Also inaugurated were members of the school committee and city council. Following his swearing in, Mayor Coogan recounted his first 2 years in office, commenting on how the city persevered while battling the pandemic and facing other challenges.
Despite all we have endured as a community, Fall River is still the city we talked about at my last inauguration, poised for greatness and full of potential. Our community has, time and time again, rallied together in the face of adversity. Even in the most difficult times, we hung together, held on to our ideals that make us all love Fall River. It's our sense of community, the grit, the resilience, the way we show up for one another.
Following some political challenges with the City Council and School Committee over the past year, the mayor says he remains dedicated to forging a productive partnership in the next term.
Today, as we look forward to the next 2 years, I'm excited to see what we can accomplish. Together, we did remarkable things despite the roadblocks we faced. Looking forward, I have nothing but faith in what we can do if we continue to collaborate and pursue a unified vision for Fall River. Fall River has a bright future. And as we embark on my next term with new counselors, new school committee members, I am filled with the same hope and energy that I had in January of 2020. And I will leave you with the same words I did in my last inauguration speech because they ring true even today. If we are able to take on our problems together, we will be able to succeed together. I hope all of you will join me in our goal to make Fall River a rising star in Massachusetts, a place we are all proud to call home. Because together, nothing can stop us from moving Fall River forward. Thank you, and may God bless all of you and guide us through this journey.
During the ceremony, the City Council elected three-term Councilor Pam LaLiberty LeBeau to serve as president for the coming year. Councilor LaLiberty LeBeau says she's looking forward to working with her colleagues and improving communications with Mayor Coogan, something she says has been lacking.
So Mayor Coogan, as we know, he hasn't had a city administrator. You know, he's had a chief of staff, and he's had media relations. He's had the secretary that's in the office, but he hasn't had that, one go-to city administrator. He had Mrs. Sahadi. However, it didn't. The information didn't always come down. So I think once that's in place, and I'm hopeful that he is on the verge of possibly hiring somebody that's really good, then that information will come. And I don't think it was anything purposeful. I think, he gets so much information, and as he goes about his day, and that he forgets that some things, should definitely filter down.
The council made history in selecting second-term Councilor Michelle Dion to serve as vice president, making the first time the chamber will be led by two women, a moment highlighted by the new council president.
There have been times as a counselor where I felt, I've said something, and then a male colleague will say it, and the male colleague will be the one in the paper, or, oh, so-and-so said this, or, oh, hey, that was a great idea, and I'm like, what? and you just are completely passed over. And I don't think it's done purposeful. I just think that that's how it's always been. So to have more females, more strong females on both the council and the school committee, it's a big deal. And it's a big deal for, younger kids that are looking up thinking that this is something they might want to do, or other women who are thinking, oh my God, I would never want to put myself through that. Like, oh wait, they can do it. They have all different jobs. Some of them have kids, some of them don't. Some of them are retired, some of them are younger. So there's a big variety to choose from if it's something you think you might align with one of them, and maybe it's something that you want to do.
Councilor Joe Camara returns to the chamber following his defeat for re-election in 2019. He also received 3 votes for president. He says the perceived friction among councilors over the last 2 years will hopefully change during the new term.
But it all depends on what the issues are. So that's what happens. When there's someone feels strongly about a particular issue and someone feels strongly that they can't support a particular issue, we should just take the votes and let everything fall where it will, and then you move on from there. What I don't want to see is a lot of personal vendettas going on, and that's something that might have been happening in the last 2 years. I wasn't there, but from what I've been told, it seemed to be a lot more personal than normal, and I think that's not good for the city.
Councilor Trot Lee will begin his second term of office by remaining consistent in representing all city residents.
Whatever it is, whatever you're trying to support in the community, reach out to those people, let them know where you stand at all times. And sometimes things change, and you got to make sure that you're constant communication with the people. So when you do want to accomplish goals, you're reaching out to the right people and trying to get things done. I think from the outside looking in, I had a lot of opinions when I wasn't a city councilor. And once you become a city councilor, you start to realize that, you definitely would not hold those same opinions all the time now that you do the job and now that you understand how a lot of things work.
Andrew Raposo is the lone new member of the City Council. He says he's still getting up to speed on crafting resolutions and making recommendations on which subcommittee he'll be interested in serving.
Resolutions, not yet. I'm still want to learn the ropes and how it functions. I did specify ordinances would be something I look forward to do. I think a lot of the hard work happens there and a lot of the nitty gritty of it. Health and Human Services as well. And I still remain committed to be the liaison to the school committee and assist in that progress as well.
There are 3 new members of the school committee. Bobby Bailey is hoping to put his skills in building relationships to good use.
For me, one of the biggest things is figuring out, as soon as I step in the role, where the deficiencies are and how we can create solutions. Personally, before I stepped into this role, I've been doing a lot of homework, a lot of reading, looking at some of the issues we do have here in the district, also around the state and around the country, and seeing if they're isolated issues that we do have and trying to figure that out. Secondly, something is programming, figuring out some programming that we can do to actually combat some of the issues we do have here. So a lot of it will be stepping in, creating relationships with some senior leadership, which are, some of the principals and the superintendent and stuff like that, and hearing their perspective, and then try to put some fresh ideas to some of the things they're doing and connect the relationships between the community and the schools.
Newcomer Sarah Rodrigues says she has had a smooth transition in learning what it takes to become a successful member of the school committee.
People have been really wonderful about kind of showing us the ropes. So there's 3 of us that are new, and so we've had the opportunity to sit down with folks and really kind of learn from people that have been doing this job for a while now. So that's been really, really helpful. So in terms of adapting, we've been able to do that, I think, pretty easily because we've had a pretty seamless transition. So that's been helpful. Priorities wise, I think my priorities remain the same, right? We want to make sure that we've got a culture of inclusion, we have a culture of belonging, because what's important is that our kids all have access to an equitable education.
New school committee member Shelley Pereira was not in attendance at the inauguration. Her mother, City Councilor Linda Pereira, noted online that Shelley is recovering from COVID-19. 4th District Congressman Jake Auchincloss, who represents Fall River, joined us last week to look back at his first year in office while remaining optimistic about the work ahead in Washington for 2022. During the first 3 weeks of his term, Congressman Auchincloss experienced the January 6th insurrection, the impeachment of former President Donald Trump, and the inauguration of President Joe Biden. He says that period set Congress up for the work to come in 2021, led by the continued fight to overcome the effects of COVID-19.
I know that with Omicron spreading rapidly, Americans are feeling exhausted. My constituents are feeling exhausted. My family and I are feeling exhausted by a second winter of COVID. And yet it's different this time around. If you're vaccinated, Omicron is going to be a cold. If you're unvaccinated, Omicron could mean serious illness. We've got to protect our healthcare system and our hospitals from surges and from overcapacity. But this does not need to be life-altering or massively disruptive. We can get to the other side of this, and I'm confident that 2022 is going to be the year we put the pandemic in the rearview mirror.
Auchincloss said last year Democrats in Congress and President Biden presided over the creation of over 6 million new jobs and an economy on the rise. The American Rescue Plan Act provided needed financial support to families and small businesses impacted by the pandemic. And despite facing challenges in the Senate, Auchincloss is confident there will be support to push through some version of President Biden's Build Back Better plan.
There's really going to be 3 key areas for this. One is lowering healthcare costs, allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices, capping the price of insulin, making hearing aids more affordable for seniors. Number 2 is Social Security for kids, making childcare and early education universal and affordable. And those 2 things together, for an average family of 4, would give $7,400 per year in tax cuts and savings and cost of living. $7,400 worth of savings and tax cuts from those 2 initiatives together. That is transformative for working and middle class families who, frankly, over the last half century have seen their relative purchasing power decline compared to the top 10% in this country. And then the final element of Build Back Better is climate action. We have got to make big, bold investments in a clean energy economy. And that's going to be profoundly important for Massachusetts and for Southeastern Massachusetts as well. The offshore wind industry is booming now with contracts for Vineyard Wind and Mayflower Wind, and a lot of good jobs coming to Southeastern Massachusetts because of that. We've got to double down on that momentum at the federal level.
Auchincloss will face his first re-election campaign in 2022. He says now that Fall River sits entirely within the 4th District following redistricting, the city will benefit from being united.
I think it's important that Fall River be united in one congressional district, and in the 4th, it'll be the biggest city in this congressional district. It'll really be the flagship. And I think that's good, frankly, regardless of who the representative is for the Massachusetts 4th. That's appropriate and proper for Fall River to have that type of stature within its congressional district. I'm just looking forward to really deepening the already very strong relationships I have with Mayor Coogan, with Representative Sylvia, Representative Fiola, Representative Schmid, Senator Rodrigues. This is a terrific state and local delegation, and we have forged really tight working relationship over the last year. And I know we're all committed to continuing to work close together, because that's how Fall River wins, is when nonprofits, business, local, state, federal are all rowing on the same boat in the same direction. And right now, that's really what's happening.
Fall River State Senator Michael Rodrigues says the city's legislative delegation continues to advocate in support of the needs of Fall River, and the proof is in the results. The senator says strong revenue numbers from tax collections, combined with the initial distribution of federal American Rescue Plan funding, has resulted in the Fall River area receiving additional dollars for health care, mental health services, and targeted local projects.
$1 million for Battleship Cove to support the maintenance and care of the historic naval vessels. You know, it's very expensive to maintain those vessels, and the pandemic has affected their bottom line also. $250,000 I secured for Health First Family Health Center for them to manage a school-based health clinic in the new Durfee High School. We've got a few thousand kids, students that attend Durfee. We should have a health clinic right in Durfee. Many high schools do. We have a brand new state-of-the-art high school, and we're going to contract with Health First. They're professionals. They manage clinics. Contract with them to manage the clinic, bringing health care where it's needed to the students. We have, through the work of Representative Fiola, $210,000 for Frederick Olmsted North Park, improvements to North Park. We have monies for the Fall River Art and Culture community, for the Watuppa Rowing Center. Neighboring communities received money also. Swansea got some sewer and water work. Westport got $1 million for its water and sewer main down Route 6.
Along with the budget allocations, the area will also benefit in the form of jobs from the awarding of additional offshore wind procurements to Mayflower Wind and Vineyard Wind.
They agreed, if they were given this procurement, that they would establish their operations and maintenance facility, we call it the O&M facility, in Fall River at the site of Boarding Remington Company, right adjacent to the Fall River State Pier. That is amazing. This is a multi-million-dollar investment. This will be the headquarters for the company as they install, service, and maintain these hundreds of wind turbines off the coast. Vineyard Wind got 1,200 megawatts. They partnered with a company out of Italy called FRCMedia, and they're going to construct a $300 million cable manufacturing company at Brayton Point, employing hundreds of people in living wage, high wage, good manufacturing blue-collar jobs, manufacturing all the cable that's going to be needed, not just to connect all these turbines out here in the North Atlantic, but connecting all the turbines up and down the North American sea coast.
Senator Rodrigues says as the legislature begins its 2022 session, the focus for the Fall River delegation will be to continue the work to support economic development opportunities along the waterfront.
Finally, completing the Route 79 project, which will open up lots of area along our waterfront, continued investments in our waterfront. As I said, we were able to secure $1 million for Battleship Cove. That's only one area along the waterfront. And, striking the balance down there between a working commercial waterfront, now that offshore wind is here, our state pier, the Fall River State Pier is doing pretty well. Not striking a balance between commercial and recreational opportunities. It can't be all or one.
Senator Rodrigues says he was saddened by the news that Governor Charlie Baker and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito decided not to seek re-election for a third term. Rodrigues was a supporter of the governor, even though they are from opposing political parties.
I think what Charlie Baker brought to the table is moderation. He was a centrist. As you said, I'm a Democrat. The entire South Coast delegation are Democrats, with the exception of Representative Steve Howitt, Seacon. He was a Republican, and we got along tremendously, and we supported each other. Why? Because we worked hard to reach consensus, and we respected him. He respected us. There was no gotchas. What we see in politics down in D.C., and what we even see in politics by some here in Massachusetts, is this gotcha mentality, is Facebook one-liners, rhetoric. And that's not how you get anything done.
Rodrigues, who chairs the Senate Ways and Means Committee, remains hopeful that whoever is elected governor in 2022 will maintain a productive relationship with the legislature. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Maintenance Director, Hall Keene Management, located at 1082 Davall Street, seeks a full-time maintenance director to oversee all maintenance responsibilities for a newly renovated building, including 55 residential units as well as commercial space. Job number 160-52661. Shift Supervisor, Rite Aid, located at 1024 South Main Street, is looking for a part-time shift supervisor, responsible for supervising store associates while assisting in daily store operations. Job number 160-50473. Teacher, KinderCare Education, located at 620 North Main Street, is in need of a full-time teacher to promote social, physical, verbal, and cognitive development to children in a safe, nurturing environment. Job number 160-36993. Landscaper, People Ready, located at 400 Rhode Island Avenue, is looking for a full-time landscaper. For more information, call 508-678-1293. South Coast Health, located at 363 Highland Avenue, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Associate Safety Officer, job number 160-45521. Licensed Practical Nurse, job number 160-45406. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Following renovations to the field house at BMC Durfee High School, the basketball court was rededicated last week to legendary former boys basketball coach Thomas "Skip" Karam. Karam amassed 659 wins coaching the Hilltoppers for over 36 years. He led the team to multiple state championships and is a member of the Massachusetts Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame and the New England Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame. During a rededication ceremony prior to Durfee's basketball game last week, Karam reflected upon his time leading the Hilltoppers.
I have spent my life loving the game and Durfee High School. I am proud to have the opportunity to coach so many great teams with so many great players. Durfee holds a special place in my heart. I graduated just about from here, and so did my siblings and children. I can remember when I started, I was young and inexperienced. My coaching style was old school. I had a full head of hair and a passion for winning. Some may have used another term for my passion. Taking the reins from Luke Urban after he retired was scary for me because it's always hard to follow a legend. I had a lot to prove and big shoes to fill. We started at the Bank Street Armory and the fans came in droves. It was always standing room only. I did not want to disappoint the people in the city. Moving to New Durfee was an adjustment, just like it is now. As the years passed, our teams got better and more talented. As time goes on and my memory fades, which has faded a lot, I might not be able to remember every player I coached. However, I will always remember how great it was to feel the energy and enthusiasm from our fans and how great it felt to win. And I'd just like to say thank you for all the people who are here to honor this night with me. And I wish both teams a lot of luck tonight and for the rest of the year. Thank you.
We'll wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we got Otto. He's a 6-year-old male boxer. He's a very shy dog at first once you get to know him, and then he will open up. With him, he is both dog and cat friendly. He loves to go on walks. He's a very inquisitive kind of dog. He's got that typical boxer temperament. With a family, we would ask that if you have kids, the kids would be 12 and up. We would like for him to go to a nice, quiet home. If you want to meet Otto, you can come down to 300 Lynwood Street in Fall River to Forever Paws Animal Shelter, and you can guys set up an appointment to meet this little guy. And I'm sure he'll love to meet you guys.
Today with us we have Jumpin' Jack. She is a female. She is roughly about 7 years old. She's very sweet. With her, she's pretty laid back. She would do well in a quiet home. Children, I'd probably say 12 and up for her, just because she is a little bit older and she's sensitive, and sometimes the loud noises do spook her. She does get along with other cats. She's pretty respectful. She doesn't really get in their space. So if you want to come down and meet Jumpin' Jack, I know she'd love to meet you. We are located at 300 Lynwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts. You would just have to give us a call prior to schedule an appointment to come see her. All of our information is also located on our foreverpaws.com website. I know she'd love to meet you. As you can see, she loves the attention. You could pet her all day long and she doesn't mind it at all.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please check out our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.